thanks for joining us for another video blog. What I want to talk to you about today is the role of a leader in culture. And that's because leadership is the #1 critical success factor for any company that's looking to change, build or embed the type of culture that's going to need in order to make the organisation successful in the future. And what we're going to cover off today are the key things that leaders need to do as part of that culture journey. There are 3 things that are critical for leaders when it comes to their role in culture. First is they need to communicate the expectation. Second is they need to role model the expectation. And third is they need to hold others accountable for the expectation. So what do I mean by this? When it comes to communicating the expectation, we've got to make sure that everybody knows what it is that we're actually striving for, what is expected. And part of that means the leader's got to start by communicating why we're putting a focus on culture and also the context around the organisation as to why culture right now is really important. The next is the leaders have got to talk about the how. The how the culture that we're trying to build links to the strategy. So in terms of where we want to get to as a business, how is this type of culture going to align to that in terms of driving our priorities forward? And third is they need to be really specific about what is expected. And that means talking about the values of the organisation, the behaviours that underpin those values, and what success looks like if a person was exhibiting those behaviours on a day-to-day basis. Next is we need to make sure that we're role modelling the expectations. So the way leaders do this, first of all, is by demonstrating some humility and vulnerability. And that comes through seeking feedback. By seeking feedback, what leaders are doing is they're saying, we're not exactly perfect. We need to understand what we can do differently as leaders in order to demonstrate those behaviours and live by those values. So seeking feedback is role modelling what we need to do because we all need to be on this change journey. We're not saying we're perfect. And what it's doing, it's actually making it easier for others to recognise where there's opportunities for them to change and grow as part of exhibiting what's required for the new culture. The next is we need to use the language. So for the culture journey to happen, or for culture change to happen, we need to start to hear the words and feel it on a day-to-day basis. And that requires leaders just incorporating the culture language into as many conversations as possible so that people start to really understand what it means. And the third is we need leaders to be consistent. So as companies go down this path and start looking to make some changes in culture, there's going to be some positive and negative swings in momentum. And what's really critical is the leaders are consistent all the way through in trying to make the right changes. So there's some really visible things that are happening. So the team leaders looking at leaders, they can see these behaviours coming through on a day-to-day basis. Even when there's some ups and downs in the climate of the organisation, the leaders are being consistent in constantly trying to exhibit these new behaviours as part of the culture. And the third is leaders have got to hold others accountable for the culture. And the starting point for this is to make sure that we're providing feedback. So the feedback has got to be instant and it's got to be consistent. That's making people aware of the things that they're doing or not doing that are in line with the behaviours we expect as part of the culture. So making sure they're constantly providing feedback. The second is we need to make sure that there are consequences for behaviour. So before going down this path, one of the things that leaders will need to think about is, have I actually made sure that all of our accountability frameworks line up with the desire to focus on culture? Are we making sure that people's KPIs, objectives, all those sorts of things have some element of culture and behaviour in there? So that means when it comes to holding others accountable, there has got to be the same level of consequence, both positive and negative consequences for those who are doing the right thing and are embracing the culture that the company's looking for. And the final piece is leaders need to make sure that we recognise progress. Part of holding others accountable means actually taking some time to celebrate success and telling a bit of story of how far we've come on that culture journey. So it becomes another achievement that we all embrace as a team. So as an organisation, if we want to start to create the culture that we're looking for, we need to make sure that we're really, really clear of what we need our leaders to do in that process. Okay? They are the key. They're going to be the one that's going to really make the change happen to bring the culture to life and create that environment that we need for our people and the business to succeed. But that means every one of your leaders need to understand the 3 things that they need to do as part of that journey. Thank you. Wish you every success.